I'm warning you.
Take
Do
two.
not continue.
Take two. Take two. All right, here we go.
Howdy, y'all.
We're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual, informal conversation about Star Trek. And I goofed it up. We did this introduction like much better, but I didn't hit the live button, so I apologize, audience. You didn't get to see. And Father doesn't bathe in the same river twice, apparently, so we couldn't recreate it for you. But we're here. We're talking about the Star Trek original series episode. Spectre of the Gun, and I'm joined by our lovely crew of. We have a Milk Ocean here today to give us the Milk Ocean perspective. We have Allison.
Hello.
Welcome back, Allison. Chris, a long time no see. Welcome back. Nice to see you. And I don't know if we can hear you yet, Chris. Let's test your audio. Oh no, you gotta figure it out. We gotta figure it out. Chris is gonna figure it out, guys.
We can all learn American Sign Language real quick.
If you proceed, you may be in an Old West reenactment.
Welcome back, Admiral, and welcome back, Fathery, of course.
Happy to be here as always.
So I can't get over Ruben. Ruben, you don't have to wear that the whole time if you don't want.
I must say,
I think he does have to wear it.
I thought the Christmas light costume was hot.
All I'm saying is that's a Milk Ocean pug because the eye's going like that.
Oh yeah, it's kind of got that bug-eyed.
You actually look like
forehead look.
I feel like you're also from Zelda or something like
Majora's Mask or something. I see a little bit of ET, kind of like a green ET.
Oh yeah, there's like a green ET vibe going there too. That's awesome. So, what did you all think of this episode? We'll let you lead, Fathery.
You know what? I always remember this episode as I never like it as much as I want to. I always think it's like really good in the first half and then kind of slows down and meanders a little bit in the second half. But for whatever reason, I watched it today and it really hit with me more than I think it typically has in the past. I don't know if I've seen it so many times I got bored with it for a while, but then when I tried to think deeper about it today, it reminded me of the good things in it or what happened. But yeah, it's a really fun one. Definitely an iconic episode, a bit of a Star Trek trailblazer in that after this, many of the shows that follow will do their own Western type of episode. And if you were around in the 50s or 60s as an actor, you did a lot of Western work where audiences were used to like watching that stuff. So it was kind of fun to see Star Trek explore that, and especially DeForest Kelly.
DeForest Kelly, yeah, but weren't they all in Westerns at some point?
I know Leonard Nimoy had played a Native American at some point. I'm sure Shatner did something, but I don't know what it would be. But DeForest Kelly had actually in previous movies he had been both he'd been one of the Earps and one of the Clantons. He had done both.
He was an Earp in Gunfight the OK Corral with Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster.
Yeah, that's like the most. Well, I don't know. Maybe at this point in time, anyways, that had probably been like the most iconic, most famous, big Hollywood, big budget version of the gunfight of the OK Corral. So that's a fun one.
In a deleted scene, I had McCoy check my prostate. It was wonderful.
You don't have one, Milk Ocean.
Chris,
can we? Chris,
just ahead.
You're just ahead. Chris, can we get a test on your audio?
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
We can hear you now.
Yay.
Welcome. Yeah, excellent. Chris, do you want to go next with your thoughts on this episode?
Sure. I agree with what Text Track said. This was not an episode that ever really impressed me, but this is one where it kind of impressed me afterwards, especially after looking at the Sci-Fi Channel special features from the 1998.
Yeah, thanks for posting that, by the way. That was neat. I'd never seen those, and so they're always delightful.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah, so this one is like one I always thought was like so cheap and lousy of an episode. But now that we've looked at, there's things now that are out there that just weren't there when the show existed, like the Matrix. So it makes a difference when you look at stuff like that, and
Right on.
it's just there's stuff that.
And
So-
you guys were making cool connections to like other parts of Star Trek, like I think Ian said something about the Royale, and you were saying something about Gambit, I think, part 1 and 2, Chris, and stuff like that. So
the
look forward to
Gambit
hear-
part 2, that weapon,
Yeah.
because that weapon was all about fear was what destroyed you, and at the end of this episode,
Oh, the
it's
Tots
obviously-
Utot. It's the Tox Utot, right? Like that's what the weapon was called, right?
No,
it?
it wasn't the Toxic Top. That was from the Captain's
Oh,
Holiday.
you're right. What was the weapon? It was a Vulcan thing. It was like a cool, like a whatever.
Correct.
Yeah, you're right. Poor Ruben suffers for the show, like literally. Like he was so
Nice.
hot under those lights. I'm
I couldn't,
nice
I
to.
couldn't do more, man. That shit
No,
was
thank
hard.
you.
And then
You-
the position I had to hold the eyes in more or less the right place. I was like, oh my god, I'm
You've
cramping
done
up.
your
My
you've
left
done your
arm's
bit.
cramping. I'm too old for this shit.
You've done your bit for King and Country, Ruben. Thank you. I appreciate
I hope
it.
everyone enjoyed that.
Do you want to go next, Ruben, with your thoughts on this episode?
Sure. I think I'm I'm part of the trend here because I remember when I was a kid, I enjoyed it, stupid Western. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, this is really stupid Western. And then now I watched it again today and I really enjoyed it. I found it more entertaining than I thought I would. I found the themes more interesting than I thought I would. What I would have liked to see is maybe a line of dialogue to kind of explain away why the sets don't have walls. Just say, hey, the Melkoshians didn't know how to they couldn't render all the.
The
walls.
Makoshians had a limited budget.
Yeah, they did.
Exactly.
But
they
McCoy
were in their
says
third
something.
season, and
But McCoy says something, doesn't he, in the episode? I could
Yeah,
have sworn he says, like, why isn't anything, like, I can't remember, but I thought he said something about it, and maybe, I don't remember.
maybe I missed it. Yeah, but other than that, I'm with everybody else. I enjoyed the episode a lot more than I thought I would. I thought it was just going to be a kind of bad season 3 episode or forgettable or whatever, but I enjoyed it.
Nice.
I think
Allison,
this too reminds me of like Trelane too, like how Trelane couldn't get Earth right, and so he messed up things.
oh, yeah, that's a good point. Allison, you want to go next?
Well, I guess the Malkotians sort of took the Wild West theme out of the thoughts and feelings of the crew. So I guess that's probably why they didn't render everything in 3D like we would today. I do
Right,
like
it was
the
almost
Western
like a
theme.
dream. You know how in a dream you
A
don't really see
dreamscape,
every
yeah.
detail.
Exactly, more like a dreamscape. Anyway, I do like the Western theme. Like a fistful of datas would carry on the Western theme, and I almost wore my my Firefly shirt because Firefly is a Western set in space.
Yeah,
and
basically, it's
Gene
true.
Roddenberry always said it was wagon train to the stars. So I did like the episode back in the day. I mean, the ticking clock making everyone tense is awesome. And the only thing that I had an issue with is where did Chekhov go and how did he end up back at the end with,
Well, I think the closest thing we could probably compare it to is that, like, because the Melkoshians were illusionists, when he died, they like simply just transported him out of there into like like the penalty box, like Tasha was in, like when the Q put her in she's just sitting on the bridge or whatever, but she's also like in this weird non-space or whatever. So yeah, it would have been neat to explore, but then I think it would have taken us it would have taken away from the conclusion where like
Exactly.
they have to figure out like that it's an illusion, not and
Exactly.
that they could like but that's Chekhov. I think Chris was saying that Walter Koenig loves this episode, by the way, that he really enjoyed.
Well, yeah, he gets to make
It's one of his
gets to
favourite that he
make out with a
started.
girl for like half the episode.
He does that in the Apple also.
It's true. It's true. Ian, want to give us your thoughts? And I'm gonna put you full screen for a sec. Well, first, Allison, because I want to show off your shirt, which is pretty awesome. It's a Niners shirt. That's very cool. And now I'm gonna put Ian full screen for a second. That's a good hat too. Now, Father's hat is like a 10-gallon hat, or like is that a 5-gallon hat, right? What is that? Do you know? Do you know your gallons, Fathery?
It's not a like a common unit of measurement that I'm familiar with. It's a 5X cowboy hat.
Oh, okay.
It's not a Stetson though. It's a Rodeo King, but
oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, no, mine I got for a theme night from back in the day on the cruise. But no, this for me, this is one of my top 10 of Star Trek, the original series. It's always, I loved it always as a kid, growing up watching Star Trek, growing up watching Westerns with my dad. It's always been one of my favourite ones, and I've always liked it. And there's always that photo of DeForest Kelley holding the revolver by the barrel and going like that. It's one of the publicity shots he did for it. It's a black and white publicity, but yeah, I love it. I'll always love it, and I watched it again this evening. I just thought, yeah, I like it. For me, the only thing that I will say is the one who played Morgan looked more like Wyatt than Wyatt in the episode. But yeah, no, I it's just one of those bits, and the scene at the OK Corral is, I just like it. And there's so many iconic photos from this one. I mean, when they're coming through the fog, the 5 of them in the fog. There's a picture, Kirk and Spock in the fog, and then it's them standing in the OK Corral. Is a very got some really iconic publicity photos and everything else from this episode. So yeah, and for me, it's sort of, I know somebody mentioned it on Twitter a while ago, that all the signs are all Western signs except for the sheriff, where they use the Star Trek font in the sheriff's office.
Yeah, I saw that on the
Really?
internet too. Yeah.
I feel like I got some Star Trek glasses today. Check these out.
Oh, whoa.
Oh wow.
That's very Star Trek. Oh, yeah. The president of the Federation wears glasses like that. That's doesn't he? They don't have like the.
Yeah, they don't have legs.
That part. Yeah, it's
like
cool.
Morpheus.
I had a metal nose replace my real nose, so it doesn't magnetize.
That's really funny. That's really funny.
Sounds efficient.
Yeah, I like this episode too.
There's a dude in First Contact, in Star Trek First Contact, with the metal nose on the holodeck. I'm sorry. I just had to point
Oh
that
yeah,
out.
that's Mickey the Nose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't he light like yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's right. That's right. I remember that. Mickey the Nose.
And there actually is a Western with Lee Marvin where he has a metal nose as well. He plays a gunfighter. That's a bit.
I wonder if that's like a viable option. If you lose your nose, can you?
I got my
replace
nose
it?
shot off.
Shot off. Can I replace it with like a piece of like titanium or something? It might actually work.
I don't think they had much titanium in the Old West.
I'd
but-
like to get like a trunk, like a little short elephant trunk, maybe. So if I have to eat, you can just eat for me. Just pick up the
Oh
food.
my goodness.
Just be thankful they don't put it the wrong way, otherwise you drown.
How we digress. I enjoyed this episode too. I never enjoyed it as a kid either. It's funny. I don't know why I didn't enjoy westerns as much. I did like the Sergio Leone, the spaghetti westerns, and Clint Eastwood, and a couple other things. But yeah, overall I just wasn't really into westerns as much. Like, I liked references to westerns more, like in Back to the Future Part 3, it's like all these references and stuff, but for some reason I don't gravitate towards westerns. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot more watching it recently, especially like just the real surreal aspect, the surreal like way they made it and filmed it. I thought it was very clever, and I like kind of now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, like I wonder if there was like unintentional or intentional homages to like other kind like surrealist films. I guess like there would have been at this time like the Italian surrealists like Fellini and stuff probably were doing movies around this time, right? They're like the 50s and the 60s, right?
Yeah.
So it reminded me of kind of those kinds of weird things.
It was more of a case of needs must. I mean, the budget's
Yeah,
been severely
that's what William
slashed by
Shatner
then.
said in that
I
video
quite
Chris
like the
sent.
fact that they went for it and they used it instead of trying to cover it up. They actually used it in the episode, so I plaudits to them. I really did like what they did.
I love the look of this episode because the red skies, the half built doors, it makes it a lot more iconic than if it actually looked like something that would be like your average Western that could just be on TV that day. Instead, it has this very unique and memorable look and feel to the episode, which they copied in Lower Decks when they had Mariner on the holodeck when she was getting beat up by the horse.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
So the imagery of it, and even when there's like the lightning storm flashing when the Earps are approaching the OK Corral, and I love the way that's shot. That wonderful
with the wind and everything.
TOS melodrama, and everything's so big and intense. But the sound of the wind, the sound of the thunder, the flashing lights, and you can tell that there's a matte painting, just a big red sheet hanging up on the wall, because when there's flashes, you see the shadows on it, but it just makes
shadows of the trees.
It just makes it look like a more surreal, environment, like they're in like this artificial world that's created by these mysterious, powerful entities, and I just love all of that.
Bullets, fake news. Bullets, fake news. Great name, Jill. Says, I'm having a disagreement with my friend about what the duties of the saloon girl were at work. What do you all think? Not you, Ruben.
Regardless, I'm going to say public relations.
Public relations.
I'll leave it at that.
Hospitality.
Hospitality and management.
It was. How can we say it was to deal with the needs of the cowboys in more ways than one, not just drinking.
I'm gonna say hostess with the mostess. How about that? What do you think, Allison?
She's a plot device. She's a plot device because she has to play the reason why Chekhov gets killed, and that's how Kirk figures out that it's not real, because in the real OK Corral, Chekhov's character
Billy
does not die, and in fact is the only one who survives the gunfight at the OK Corral. So she's a plot device.
Interesting. Yeah, good point. Also, did you guys find it weird how easily Chekhov just like totally falls for this girl? Like
that's kind of his MO though. Like
it is kind of his,
he was like that in The Apple.
He's the Harry Kim of TOS.
And then he has a girlfriend again. He has the old flame in The Way to Eden.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. She's in that. That's true. What were you saying, Ian?
It's just a bit where he said I have to keep the good relations with the.
That's right.
The way they originally used Chekhov, he was a lot more of like the kind of like the wonder kid, like the up and coming officer. Like we see him, especially like in early season 2, we see him do like a whole lot of different variety of duties, and he's even like using Spock's scanner a couple of times, and they kind of in the movies and stuff they kind of forget about that, and they at one point decide just to make him security officer, but he had more of like a, I don't know, he seemed like a real ambitious officer coming up the ranks, like learning all the different skills. Maybe he might even want to be like a captain one day or something like that.
Which we do get in the extended.
They brought that back in the Kelvin films, didn't they? They made him the Wonder Kid in the Kelvin films.
Yeah.
So And unfortunately,
they really honed in on that, and it was exemplified in those films. But there's moments
Yeah.
where you get moments even up until like Star Trek Generations when he's like, "Were we ever that young?" And I love that scene where Kirk turns to him and says, "You were younger." Like it was that's such a nice a nice little a little
and that was the point of Chekhov, was to be the youthful, the young one that the teenagers in the audience would relate to.
It's true.
I don't know if it.
I mean, that was the whole
he was
reason
the
for
Beatle.
Davy Jones' wig as well.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was the Beatle.
The Beatles. That's right. That was the haircut was intentional, like a Davy
Well, actually,
Jones.
no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Beatles. It was the Monkeys.
Yeah, Davy
Well,
Jones.
but the
They wanted
monkeys
to-
were the
The
Beatles.
Monkeys.
The
was
monkeys
quite
were the
big in
Kmart Beatles, though.
Yeah, exactly. The monkeys were the Beatles.
Hey, I like the monkey. It's just
No, the monkeys were good. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying they were kind of
Yeah,
like.
no,
I
my
thought-
mom liked them. I have some monkeys records that were my mom's.
It's like New Kids on the Block and NSYNC. They're both all right, you know. But
No,
one gave birth
no.
to the other.
In Sync is better.
Wow.
I'm not. I won't even argue that.
I agree.
Going back to the episode,
I will-
Jay.
I will
Oh, go ahead.
say something to
Sure, Allison.
I will say that the one thing that did stand out to me was actually how the aliens visually looked. That was one thing that actually stands out the most about this. I mean, because they actually
Yeah.
look better than how the Tholians turned out in this show. I mean, in Star Trek. So I like that one, and that is the one thing that stands out the most to me. It's not the Western; it's this alien thing, and it's always shown in these artworks for trading cards and everything.
Yeah, it's a
I
good
wish
alien.
we'd seen that more in the series.
It just
Yeah.
it does remind me a little bit of like the setup of it. I love it too. I'm not like trying to diss on it too much, but remember like the long faced guy from Baylock's ship, like he was like also lit the same way with the multicolored light in the fog, and
But at
like,
least
the-
he had a background.
Yeah, he
and
did have a
here it's just like a
background, yeah.
floating head in space. And I
In
wish
space,
that
yeah.
they could have. I know, like season 3, they had virtually no budget, but I wish they could have, because it is such a great looking creature. If they could have like put it on a physical set and shot some type of background behind it instead of just putting it over that star field, because I like, how is it just, are they just a species of floating heads, or like how I don't
they're
I don't know.
rock like
I
too.
don't
They remind me of the
understand what they are.
Shellyak a little bit, or the Shellyak remind me of them a little bit, which is interesting. You
Yeah.
remember it's like an interesting.
And I like those weird creatures, like the Tholians is another example. We're gonna get the Excalibans.
I thought of
and-
it
and
as they
later
have
this
these
season.
illusion powers, so they just project this image of this giant.
Right,
floating
actually, that's a good point, because like remember everyone heard them in different languages in the beginning, so maybe
Right.
everyone sees them differently, and that's how
You
we're
never
seeing-
actually see what a Melkoshian.
Yeah.
or Melkor, yeah, Koshian,
No.
yeah.
No,
Jace was saying, I wanted to point out, even though this episode is completely studio bound, it's very entertaining, and they make good use of the stage setting, which is totally true. That's what Father was saying earlier, which I agree with.
I think for me, it's one of the best uses of for the budget that they had. I think they did really. I mean, they, as it said, they used it. It was, what's the word I'm looking for? It'll come to me. But they really did.
no, they got their
to-
bang for the buck with that episode.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
goes to
Yeah.
show what you can do without
Yeah.
whiz bang crap
Yeah.
going. You know.
Totally.
Yeah. So was it invention? Invention is the
Oh,
form
mother of necessity.
Yeah.
Invention is the
Which-
mother of necessity.
It's the other way
Necessity
around.
is the mother of-
And it's very much
Necessity.
in this one. So the style of
necessity is
filming,
That's
Yeah.
the other. We can't get our phrases right, our axioms.
no.
But like Star Trek 2 is often considered the best Star Trek movie of all time. It is also the one with the smallest budget out of any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
if you
true.
think about it, yeah, a lot of it is it's just indoors conversations, tension building, then some space battles, and then mostly indoor kind of sets.
Yeah, most of it shot on one set because they used the same bridge set for the Reliant and the Enterprise. They just redressed it. So
Yeah.
Mario, hey, nice to see you. Says the episode is great. Always loved it. Westerns are cool. It was a Tombstone was at Tombstone last week. Oh, that's cool. Would have been cool if there was something Trek related. Just a lot of Kilmer. But you know,
The thing is, though, when I watch Spectre of the Gun, I still have Val Kilmer, Doc Holliday in my head. When I watch it, I can hear him sometimes.
it's a very memorable. That's probably one of the most memorable things he ever did.
Yeah, I'll be your Huckleberry.
I'll be
Yeah.
He was so good as Doc Holliday.
Now,
What do
I
you
have
guys
a
think of
question
the?
for you guys. What
Go-
do you think of the music for this episode? Because the music kind of stands out as like cheesy to me.
I thought it was pretty effective. You get like the piano music when they go into the saloon.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it for me, it's like that perfect storm. You know, some people will find the music cheesy. I think it was just right for the episode. I think the way the episode was, it was, you know, you didn't have the full sets, you didn't have the full bit. So having that, you know, the out of tune piano, all that type of thing, I just think it lent itself to the story, and I think it helped it. I think it helped the atmosphere.
Yeah, the music didn't particularly stand out one way or another to me throughout the episode.
Yeah, I like the music. I do think it. I like that. I did note that piano bit. But overall, like I think, what was I feel like the music was more interesting last week because they did that organ music and all that stuff.
The electronic stuff.
The electronic stuff. Yeah, that was.
And I think
cool,
this one is scored by the same dude who did The Trouble with Tribbles in season 2.
Right. Oh, by the way, this was a Gene L. Kuhn script, but he wrote it under a
With a
pseudonym.
code name.
Yeah,
Because
or
he
his
was
code
contracted
name.
elsewhere.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
surprised me.
I didn't know that.
I was not expecting that.
Or if I knew that, I forgot that. But yeah,
I
Well,
didn't know,
Chris,
yeah.
Chris,
Chris
and
gave-
Lee Cronin is
Yeah.
I watched it, so yeah.
Yeah, check out the video later. I don't know if William Shatner was just like loose in the video or had a couple of drinks, but he sounded like he was just like, yeah, Gene Kuhn. Like, I don't know. It's like a very different William Shatner. He was a little.
That
he
was
a little
James T. Kirk.
Yeah, it was like really funny. But he narrates it. I didn't know also that Leonard Nimoy recorded a bunch of those, but that
yeah,
they never
they're
aired.
all Nimoy or Shatner.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of those when they
Right.
aired. They're not all available online now, but people are turning up recordings of them.
Sometimes it looks like a wig on Chekhov, and sometimes it doesn't. Is it because he sometimes wore it and sometimes didn't, or was it like a?
It
I
was
don't
more,
know.
to be honest, it was more season 2. It was the Davy Jones wig. That
Yeah, he wore it till his hair grew long,
Oh,
and then he
all
stopped
right.
wearing the wig.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like by now he's got his hair long, I guess. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
because when they hired him, he had short hair.
Okay, that makes more sense. Now Chekhov is like myself. He and or rather I should say Walter Koenig and I share the thing where we both wore
Yeah,
wigs.
he
for
has
a
no
long
hair
time.
anymore.
Yeah. Actually, but he
he's
wore
given up-
he
he's
wore
given
a
up on the
piece.
wigs.
Not
Yeah, he gave up on it.
I just want to say Jerry Fielding
I
was
think-
nominated for the guy who made the music was nominated for 3 Academy Awards for music.
For this episode?
No,
Wow.
Oh, just in
Academy
general.
Awards.
Okay.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Star Trek. But I think as unique as how this episode came out before the Matrix, and yet we see Matrix vibes in the last bit of this episode with the guns, bullets, and they're just going right through the person.
Yeah.
I found, and just this unlimited amount of ammo that they're just shooting at the characters. Like, dang, don't they come out of ammo?
I'm sure the Wachowskis
Nobody
saw this
reloaded
movie
for
at some
today.
point. I mean, saw this episode at some point. So
Mario says, what I thought was funny was they had a beacon saying that beacon remastered was really cool. By the way, I don't remember what it looked like in the original thing, but a beacon.
it looked
saying,
pretty
"Please-"
similar.
It did, cool. Please don't come. And Kirk was like, screw it, let's go. They had orders from Starfleet, but it wasn't clear why it was so imperative. to make
Like at
first
all
contact.
cost, you must
at
make
all-
first contact.
Yeah, like, what-
There's like a giant sign that says like, "Please do not come here. We do not want you
Well,
here. Don't come anywhere near here."
And wouldn't that be first contact? Okay, we contacted the McCotians. They're telling us
Yeah,
get the hell away
they
from
said
us.
go away.
Okay.
They had the "Do not disturb" sign hanging up on the hotel room
Yeah,
doorknob.
Instead, they like barged through the door. We're like, "What's up, y'all? we still wanna
What's
party.
up? You got any beer in the fridge? We're here to party. Woo!
Send them to the Western Purgatory now."
Yeah, do you guys? They never had. I didn't have time to read up on this episode, like the behind the scenes or any of the trivia of it. But do you know, like, why would Starfleet like be so insistent on meeting these guys?
Maybe they knew these aliens were like advanced, and they found out they were like talking to the Romulans or something like that. So it's
yeah,
like,
that's
no,
a good-
no, we need to get our foot in the door too.
I like that. That's actually cool. and that actually kind of fits a little bit with like well, it's a little different, but it's like it's kind of, it reminds me of like the situation where the Takan sentry had to like, you know, had to
with the
meet like
Ferengi,
with the
yeah.
Ferengi, yes. But it would have been interesting to throw another species
Or
into the mix
in
on this one,
Friday's
actually.
Child, when the Klingons and the Federation were both trying to
That's right.
establish relations with those people.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
But it would have been neat. I think that might have been interesting, but a little too complicated if they threw like Romulans into this. Because could you imagine if instead like the Doc Holliday and the rest were the Romulans? Like that might have been really weird and interesting. But...
Yeah, I mean, you could have, I guess, fixed it with one line of dialogue like, we need access to their solar system. This one planet has this ingredient we need to make a cure for a plague
There you
somewhere,
go.
and you know it's important that we get in and get it.
I'm just
I'm
gonna
trying
assume.
to think of what the Romulan Wild West looked like. You know, the Romulans had to have their period of the Western type era. What would a Romulan Wild West look like?
Western type era was really not. I mean, that was just on one continent during like a very small span of time in the 1800s.
No, but
I
that
guess.
area
So.
of discovery and exploration, you know, with very little tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it'd be. I mean, I guess we've
I like
had
this
different.
question Mario has.
Oh, let's see.
Did anyone else think it was funny when Kirk kind of lost his cool and just strolled into the bar like nothing happened? I'm okay. No.
Nothing to see here.
I thought. I mean, I like the sentiment behind it, and this is kind of Starfleet at its most pacifist. But the whole notion of like Kirk didn't want to kill any. It's like, well, they're not real people. They're basically, you know, what later we would consider to be kind of like holodeck programs on the holodeck. You know, just fake characters. So.
Yeah. I mean,
What's
also just
interesting
like
too is
Sorry, Alison, go on.
I was going to say
No, it's
what's
actually
interesting
Chris.
About,
Sorry.
Star Trek continues.
Go. Sorry, Chris.
Star
Go
Trek
ahead.
continues actually address this Western by saying they made holodeck characters in like one of the first episodes of Star Trek Continues of the Western and trying to make the holodeck program.
There's a recreation room in the animated series that works a lot like the holodeck.
Yeah.
So
That was supposed to be
well,
in
they-
season 3, but
yeah,
again, budget.
The previous episode when Kirk was taking Diana Muldaur's character into that room and he's like, "This is Earth." I think they intended for that to be like a holographic recreation of a garden on Earth or something like that.
That bit what Chris is saying about in Star Trek Continues was actually Doug Drexler as the
cool.
In there, because it's obviously they're pointing it at Kirk, and all of a sudden they freeze the freeze program, and he walks around. So yeah, it's in there in Star Trek Continues.
Maybe we'll do Starfleet Boy After Dark discussions about Star Trek Continues, because I'm not sure I want to make them part of like the the main discussion here, but like it's a good show. I really like that show. It's very cool.
I
They did a
enjoyed
good
it.
job.
I did enjoy it was 11 episodes. Was it 11? Yeah, it was 11 episodes. Yeah. But, yeah.
Star Trek Continues is 11 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
And
did
it's
a
also
great job.
got special shorts too. So you can actually watch shorts that are like a few minutes long on different things. Like there's one with Uhura, Chekhov, and Uhura seeing how the captain's chair feels and how it would be like if they were captain. So that's one of the shorts.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Ulysses says the fractured buildings and half-built sets made sense, being that Melkotians pulled the images from Kirk's mind, so they didn't have a realistic portrait. Yeah, and also like how we remember things, like we don't really. Sometimes we remember things like in just like these halfways or like a little bit, fractured like that too. So it makes sense.
Well,
Maybe
yeah, when you think of a house or a house from memory, you always sort of remember the front of the house.
Yeah, it's true.
And then you remember rooms inside it, but you don't see it as the whole house in itself. So I think that's what I think that's where it played really well into that surrealist type view in this episode.
Right on. Bullets, fake news. Jill says maybe Kirk walked down the street of a movie set once, and that's what they pulled out of his mind. That might be funny too. Actually, I know they still make movies in the future. They definitely have a news network in the future. So
They in the 24th century they talk about movies like that's not a thing anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when
Well,
Harry
It's all
when
that program, isn't it? It's that
It's
type of
holo
thing, isn't it?
novels and
when
like
Harry
interactive
Kim
movies.
is watching TV in 1996 when they went back in time to meet Sarah Silverman, he's like, man, like this seems so weird. You don't get to like interact in it like on the holodeck. You just sit and watch it.
It's true. Holo movies are
Mind you,
totally different.
Tom was
And now
Tom
kids are
Paris
growing
was
up with
really into all
VR.
that stuff, wasn't
Oh, what's that, Ruben? And
Exactly.
oh,
I just
VR.
said now kids are growing up with VR.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. And what were you saying, Ian? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Well, I was saying about televisions. Tom Paris was all big into the old style and everything else.
Yeah, he
wasn't
watched TV and he watched movies. And on
Yeah.
Enterprise, they watched movies because they would
And
have movie
Discovery.
night.
They have movie
Riker
nights on
says,
Discovery too.
Riker in season 1 says something about like, oh, that went out of nobody's. Remember when they unfreeze those 4 people from like the 20s?
Yeah, the neutral
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
zone.
in the
where's
neutral
guitar? You know, that guy. Yeah. He says to one of them that like that was a fad that died out at some point, like
Yeah.
TV.
But
Where's
in the
Bluetooth?
22nd century, they still made movies because when Archer's Enterprise went off to fight the Xindi in the Expanse, when they came back, the captain of the Columbia, I can't remember her name, but she said, "Oh, there is like another World War III movie came out and won all the awards." So they still have like the Oscars and the Golden Globes and
Yeah,
movies in that time period.
Time period. What
Now,
were you gonna say,
I have
Chris?
a question. Does anyone know anything about the director? Because the director really does stand out in this episode because he really utilized making the shots look really unique. So, did the director do other episodes of the original series
Let me look him
or
up
other
here.
things?
The director of this episode, by the way, for everyone who's wondering, is Vincent McCavity. I can't, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. But this director did, or is known for, Star Trek Mannix. I remember Mannix, The Untouchables, the TV series, and then the Scarface Mob, whatever that is. So, but as far as Star Trek goes, let's see here. Come on, he's got a lot of work, so I've got to scroll way down. As far as Star Trek goes, he did 6 episodes. So he did Miri, Dagger of the Mind, Balance of Terror. Oh, great! Patterns of Force, The Omega Glory, and Spectre of the Gun. So yeah, quite an accomplished director there for Star Trek episodes.
Those are all kind of odd episodes. Like if you look at Miri and all them, they kind of use these strange different things. So it kind of makes sense that he directed all those episodes, like Miri and Dagger of the Mind. They're all kind of these thought-provoking episodes.
Yeah, I see. And
Omega
like the Omega
Glory.
Glory. Yeah.
There are some interesting shots in here that, like when Spock is doing the mind meld, you have like those intense looks on their faces, like the extreme close-ups with like the light coming like straight down on top of them, and then the villains approaching the gunfight at the OK Corral. They're so ominous as they're walking up, and the actual like staging of the gunfight, it did kind of have like those classic Western vibes to it.
Yeah, I didn't realize until I watched the video, obviously that Chris shared, was when the Earps and Doc are coming to the OK Corral, they're forever changing position, and that was intentional. It wasn't a mistake, and people think, "Oh, okay, they didn't get it right," but it was actually intentional by the director to keep chopping and changing where they were in the 4 walking up to the corral.
Yeah, totally. Did you guys recognize the actor in this who plays Wyatt Earp?
Is he the one that they bring back for Star Trek V?
That's
I know,
right.
Like, one of them, yeah. He's that dude digging them holes in the beginning.
Yeah, totally
when he meets
different.
Cybok. You're a
I would have
Vulcan?
never caught that. I
Here,
would
I'm just gonna
never
make
caught
sure I'm
that.
on IMDb here, but I'm pretty sure that's him. If it's not Wyatt, it was
One of them is. I know for a fact one of them
I
is.
thought it was the one who played Morgan.
It was Morgan. Sorry, my bad.
Okay.
It was the actor who played Morgan. You're absolutely right. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's that would be. Hold on, let me get his name. But anyway,
Rex
so
Holman.
Rex Holman, thank you. He, what a difference! I didn't recognize him at all. Like I would never know it's the same person. That's crazy.
But yeah, Ron Sobel, who played obviously played Wyatt. You know, for me, he was recognisable in, you know, when you saw him, because he'd done quite a lot. So in films and whatever, you know, he was in Charlie's Angels, he was in Beretta, but you know, Streets of San Francisco, he was in lots of different episodes. But yeah, I mean, for me, he had an immediately recognisable face.
Yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, Star Trek
Yeah.
5 actually was his last credit here as an actor, so he hasn't acted. He did not act since, and he's still alive. He lives in Oklahoma, so he's an Okie.
I like the Pagan's comment there, because that's kind of ultimately a little bit of a problem with this episode, where the idea
so-
is not to fight, but they fight anyway.
Well,
Well, it's not to
lethally.
kill. Yeah, it was not to kill. They had no choice but to fight. But I guess they
I
could have
mean,
just
but
stood there.
That's a little subjective, because one punch could kill somebody if you hit him the right way.
Yeah, but Kirk's a master.
But not with Kirk.
of,
No, Kirk
yeah,
doesn't kill
Kirk
anyone.
knows how to like punch right.
I mean, the original series always liked having a little bit of action.
No, yeah, no, you need it. I mean, it's TV at the end of the day, so they have to work in the action somehow.
And it wasn't a proper Star Trek fight, because he never ripped his shirt, so we're fine.
Yeah.
What did you all think of like the conclusion? So like finally they realize it's you know, Spock and everyone realizes it's an illusion. They withstand the bullets. They get into the fight, and then all of a sudden they're back on the ship, and the Melkosian. Wait, am I saying it right? The
Melkosian, yeah.
Melkosians
Yeah,
are.
look at my name. I copy pasted it from
Oh, thank you.
Memory Alpha, so it's spelled. If it's right there, it's right here.
Oh, okay, the Melkosians were all like, all right, fine, you guys like actually seem like you're legit and nonviolent. Come on through. And it's probably like a paradise planet, like nothing like the fog or whatever that we saw. Like,
You know,
you know,
maybe the only
like-
weakness the Melkosians have is guns. And so, like, it's okay if you fist fight.
but, yeah. But I mean, self-defense is one thing, you know. But anyways, in that, I like that scene. What do you guys think of that scene where like Spock's just like, but you know, but you did intend to kill, and Kirk's kind of like owning it. He's like, yeah, I did, but I didn't. Like, I didn't do it.
He
you
didn't
know?
intend to, but he wanted to.
Yeah, he wanted to, rather, I should say. Yeah, but he didn't do it.
I mean, that goes back to, was it season 2 episode? You know, yes, we are barbarians. We can kill, but we choose not to.
Yeah.
It goes back to that. I've forgotten the name of the episode. I'm doing terrible today, but you know, Kirk. It's very similar in that delivery where he said, "Yes, I wanted to kill, and I wanted to kill him, but I didn't. I chose not to. I reined it in." So yeah, I will find what the episode that is, but it's another episode where Kirk destroys a computer by talking to it. So yeah, so
Right.
that's for me that's where it is.
I like that moment a lot. Yeah, Allison, any thoughts on that?
Nope. Sorry.
Sorry. Just want, you know, I'm like a teacher. I just call on people randomly, like it's like class time. Like, what do you think of this student?
Allison, do you remember what this episode was like when you first saw it? Like, did you see it back in the 60s or did you see it later in
Oh, yeah.
reruns?
No, I saw it back in
Great
the
question.
60s. And I do remember how tense it was. Are they going to fight? Are they not going to fight? The sweat dripping down McCoy's face, and McCoy always makes such good faces, you know.
Oh yeah, he is great. He had a great scene too with Doc Holliday when he was trying to get the medical supplies
Yeah.
That I like that scene a lot. That was really cool.
Doctor to doctor.
Yeah, doctor to doctor. I also just like the they captured like this like you could tell like there was this like the holograms were pretty accurate to like the depictions of the time, I guess. Like, it was the Wild West. It was like, very murderous and like very dangerous, but there was a sense of honor or a system of honor, like, Doc Holliday, we're gonna kill you at noon, but you can still use these supplies to help your people.
You say that the Earps tried a few times to bait them so they could
That's
kill
right.
them early.
That's true.
So,
they did do that. That's true. It's a good point.
Try. Morgan tried. I think all three of them. When especially when he turns around when Kirk goes to him in the jail. And he says, "Yeah, I always thought you were yellow," and just trying to bait Kirk into to draw him, as it were. Even in the bar, when Spock says, sit down, don't use your hand, sit down." And Morgan's there going, "Go on, do it." But,
do it. That's true. That was true. That was I like that scene too. That was fun. Siskin says Melkotians are a species I want to see come back, and not just as a quick Lower Decks cameo. Imagine Melkotians in Discovery, Picard, or Strange New Worlds, or in Prodigy. What do you all think?
I can take them or leave them. I mean, like, I think they're a cool visual, but I don't really. There's a few different species that their whole thing is like we can create these illusions. I mean, that's literally the first Star Trek alien race with the Telosians way back in the cage.
Like way too many of these types of episodes.
Which we got them back actually in Discovery, so we did see the Telosians.
I mentioned the Excalibans earlier. Same thing with them.
It seems to be Telosians, Melkosians. It's always there. They do it.
Telosians, Melkosians, and Excalbians. Oh my, Excalibans.
Didn't the Organians use?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Organians. That whole village was all an illusion.
Could the and the Metrons could do that too a little bit? No, they just could transport you to this arena, I guess, or whatever.
They just created
But this episode borrows some of the stuff from there, where the climax of that episode is Kirk defeats the Gorn, but then chooses not to kill.
Right,
and it's like, you passed the test. You passed the no killing test.
Yeah. So you've got that one, and it was a taste of Armageddon, where obviously Kirk says, "I choose not to kill." So you've got that one. So there are these repeating themes.
Yeah,
I think the one thing I do like.
There's way too many bored gods in the Star Trek universe. They just have nothing better to do than, hey, let's pluck these people out of their these ants. Let's grab these little ants here and throw them into an illusion and just see what happens.
But we always win.
Well, the little ants were going off and exploring this new space was kind of the idea in the original series. That space was full of like these powerful, mysterious beings, and that we were on this tiny little ship, and we were just starting to dip our toes into this deep space territory and encountering all these weird creatures and civilizations.
It is interesting that we had so much of that type of like being in Star Trek the original series, and it kind of just like it kind of gets less and less throughout the different Star Trek iterations. I mean, Q counts, of course, and he's but it's not as a variety, I guess I would say, that we see as much as that we see in the TOS. And I wonder what all these folks are doing in the future. like are they part of the Federation? Are they still just chilling? Like
they do better later on mixing it up, because like TNG has the Casino Royale episode, which is an illusion basically, but it was for aliens built it for this one dude who was
there is like evidence that there are you're right, good point.
Not like them getting plucked by these gods who are just like, ha, let's play with my Legos. See what happens. There's kind of more of
Mario's got a question.
Go for it.
Mario's got a question in the chat about did these aliens actually show up later in novels? That would be probably a question for Fathery, because he probably knows books better than I do.
I don't know a ton of the
Excuse me,
books.
I'm gonna have to go.
Oh, okay, Allison.
Bye, Allison.
Bye.
Live long and
It's
prosper.
not that I want to. It's just that I'm being hailed by a 93-year-old man who needs something.
Go, go, go. 10 to
Yay.
10 to. It was nice to see you. Were you, what were-
I'm not. If they ever show up again, I'm not aware of it.
Let's look it up on good old Memory Alpha. I mean Beta, sorry, Mel.
I
The
know
other-
there's a novelization
the
of
other thing
this
I have
episode.
The other
It's called The Last Gunfight, I think it's called.
question
Yeah, I think that
had
was the
too
original name.
Or is that, yeah, and there's a novelization. Oh man, it looks so cool.
What was the other question, Chris?
I had a question about the mind meld. Was this the first time that Spock had changed like perception of mind through a mind meld of like your thinking is totally different? To not think of this and change someone's mind this kind of way. I mean, he did in the Omega Glory make someone open a communicator.
Oh yeah, that's
this
right.
one is kind of a different thing, though.
Well,
That was
in
telepathy, wasn't it?
According to Memory Alpha, in this episode's novelization, the Melkoshian is described as a tall, thin humanoid wearing a robe. That sounds like every other. I'm glad they didn't use that.
So, according to Memory Beta, there is the Melkot or Melkoshians are a telepathic and xenophobic civilization native to Theta Keokis 2. The Melkot use their telepathic powers, blah, blah, Enterprise. And then later in the short story Hour of Fire, during his captaincy of the USS Enterprise B, John Harriman was forced to address the problem with the Melkot. His resolution of the situation later earned him the Z Magnes Prize. So good old John Harriman. And the Melkot joined the Federation just before Beta Z did. So their cranial bodies are able to levitate by means of psychokinesis. So they actually do look like that. They're not.
they're just straight up a floating. Is that what they look like in Worlds of the Federation?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot they are.
They're just a floating head in there.
They're just a head.
They got to be on lower decks.
Ralphie, imagine working with one in like an office.
Yeah,
Hey, wanna get lunch?
yeah. That's such a lower decks. They need one to like come visit the ship. There needs to be one of the Cerritos. That's the show to do that.
And then one more question
I
about
thought there was
novels.
some interesting things. I thought
Sure.
there was a thing too that they were saying about Bullet's fake news. She was saying that she saw this originally in the '60s and she was scared. And I honestly, I would have agreed too. This had that creepy vibe to the episode.
Yeah, totally. And Jill was saying that, yeah, like earlier that, like, yeah, when she watched it originally, right? So.
Well, if you notice the episode compared to other episodes in pretty much all TOS, it's tinted darker to give it that kind of, again, that surrealist and that a little bit of tension with the lighting, but it's lit a little bit darker than your usual episode.
Yeah.
Well, you know why too? Because you look at when
It's
it
in the
aired.
forward
It aired
light.
just before Halloween.
Oh. Oh, this would have been
Kinda
a
like the
great,
Halloween
like,
episode. Yeah.
this is a great, like, Halloween-y type of episode. Speaking of novels, are there any novels where Kirk and crew interact with the Cardassians? Since it's implied in Disco Season 2, the Cardassians have already been... Is it in Season 2 that the Cardassians are mentioned? I don't remember that.
No, they mentioned the Cardassians
I don't
in
remember that
Enterprise.
either.
There's
okay.
actually a Cardassian in Enterprise if you look close, but he's in one of those bunks with all the aliens that are being tortured by that space station. What was it? It was season 2, episode 3 or 4, I think. But it was right after they got hit by the Romulan mine, and then they had to go get repairs in the next episode. But there's a Cardassian in the background there, and then in the season 4 episode with the Organians, where everyone's like being possessed, but they mentioned the Cardassians. There was another time of these godlike aliens observing humans, seeing if they can survive this trial, and they're like, the Cardassian crew, they all turned on each other and they all died.
Well, we're just about at the wrapping point because we're going to give a little bit of time for our audience to get ready to go on over to Text Trek, because in just, what is it, just 30 minutes from now? No, an hour. Yeah,
in about 30 minutes.
In about 30 minutes, we're going to do a Star Trek Picard trailer discussion. So go to Text Track and set reminders for that. But do you guys want to give your closing thoughts and ratings? I'm gonna give this episode a solid little 7. I liked it. It was pretty good. It was an enjoyable episode, and as I said, Admiral's like, you didn't give it a 10. I might one day. Who knows? It just depends how I feel. But anyways, I really liked it. I thought.
Why
it
do
was
you
fun.
discriminate against the original series? You
What
give
are you
like
talking about?
you give like every other show. You give them all like 10 out of 10, and then when it
Because
comes to the original.
you guys all say the third season's not that great. I want to be fair.
It takes them that long to be objectionable.
It takes me like 55 years before I can give like fair ratings. But no, ratings aside, it was a delightful episode, a lot of fun. Again, I didn't enjoy it as a kid, but I definitely enjoyed it a lot more now.
I think the last season of the original series is better than the last season of the Next Generation. But how many of those did you give a 10?
Not that many. Well, I think we'll have to go back and check, but I remember it wasn't like I did give a lot of 10s that 7th season though. I do admit that.
I mean, there's good ones in there. Don't get me wrong, but
hey, I gave like the last couple. I've given like 10s to a lot of episodes in TOS. Just saying, like I'm gonna go back and tally it all.
Just not as many as in TNG.
Maybe, but there's more episodes of TNG, so you can't really fault me. I'll have to give you guys. I'm gonna do an analysis of my ratings so you guys can see how my absurdity truly works. Father, why don't you go next with your final thoughts?
oh, yeah, like I said, like this one is fun. It does borrow a lot of recycled ideas, I guess, from other episodes. We keep talking about, oh yes, like more godlike aliens, more of Kirk proving that he doesn't want to kill. It in a way it has a bit of that, oh, we're just going to borrow like props and sets from existing genres, instead of like Roman gladiators, sword and sandals, or World War II Nazis, or what have you. They're just gangsters.
This is sort of an alternate Earth thing again.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of that. But doing it with, cowboys, gunfights, saloons, getting to see Scotty and Chekhov have a big part in the episode. All that stuff was a lot of fun. So at the end of the day, I think I have to give it 6 imaginary bullets out of 1 homemade gas grenade.
Excellent. Chris, go ahead and go next.
This is not an episode I actually visit that often. I've only seen it probably a few times at all. It's one where I appreciate it more because of what's behind the scenes and knowing what the budget restraints are and everything like that. But I would say I would give it either a 6 or a 7 as well. If I had not known for the special features stuff and behind the scenes stuff, I would give it a much lower rating. But because I know that and now can look for those kind of details, I have a higher rating for this episode.
Right on. Ruben?
I enjoyed the episode more than I imagined I would. I always remember this one just kind of being one of those joke episodes that everybody made fun of, sort of thing. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. It's not the best of Star Trek TOS, and it's not the worst by far. But partner, I'd give it a whole round of sarsaparillas for the whole saloon. Yeah!
Wow.
You know what really seems weird about this episode too? Thinking about the sets, like back in the 60s, they had Western towns, so I don't understand why they actually didn't go to a different set to film this.
Just budget, because then you have to go out on location.
You could have gone to like the Universal set. Anybody's set would have had a Western town back in the 60s. So there's no excuse to like say, oh, we could have had a budget. Like, you could have gone to a different set.
Yeah, but it's still cheaper.
They put up that set in about 15 minutes shot, and we're done.
Probably find it was the Paramount put it quite low down. So if anybody wanted to use it, they probably would have said no.
Because I imagine a lot of those walls were just in a storage. They rolled them out, put them up. The floor's already there. Some dirt on the floor. You're done. Just clean up the dirt. Poop, 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 walls back in storage, and you're done. You're out. Like quick. No need to do anything else.
Bullets Fake News says Ian will give the highest ratings, methinks. So let's find out. Ian, what are your final thoughts? Yeah, we saved you.
I am giving this a 9.
Oh, nice.
I am giving it purely because for me, this is in the
Yeah.
my top 10 of Star Trek. There's a few things that I like about it. They totally screw up the Enterprise because you've got the first, second, and third in command down in the landing party. You've got the chief medical officer.
That's true.
I also like the fact that they are heroes of the West, but they make them the bad guys in the Earps.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they managed to flip that around. Yeah, you're right.
They
That's
managed
true.
to they
Good
flipped
point.
that around in itself. So there are elements I like. I loved it as a kid. I still like it today. It's a 9 out of 10 for me.
Well, I'm your Huckleberry. That's amazing.
So who was
Great.
captaining? Sulu?
What's that, Ruben?
Who was captaining the Enterprise at that point? Sulu?
I think it was Sulu. Yeah.
Or
Sulu-
maybe Mr. DeSalle.
and by the way, Dr. Mabenga was probably taking care of stuff or Nurse Chat. I mean, they had good hands in medical up there. You know, like.
Oh yeah, the medical bit. But yeah, but when you've got the captain, the first officer, and the second officer all on the landing party.
Ulysses the Pagan gives us 8 out of 10, so not far behind from there. And let's see if we got any other ratings in the audience. Nope, that's it. But we got Chris also who's giving us his. Chris has been in the audience as well. Thanks, Chris. You're boosting our numbers. I appreciate that. And so Jill's pretty impressed at your rating there, Ian. So very cool. What have you gentlemen got to promote this week? Let's start with you, Chris. How can folks find you on the internet and follow you?
So I'm on all kinds of stuff. I'm on Twitter as STC Christopher. I'm on Instagram as STC Eagle, and I got lots and lots of autographs on my Instagram, like this one, or this one of the TNG cast that I've been working on getting. This is actually the first autograph I ever got. Was this
Oh, so you're
one,
like getting each
Marina
of them to sign it?
Yeah, so this is one I've been working on since I was 3 years old.
Dang,
And,
wow.
I started out with Marina Sirtis. I requested to go to a convention at 3 years old, and this was the first one I got. Later on, I went and saw Gates McFadden in the early 2000s when Voyager was on its last season about to be aired, and so I saw her with Robert Duncan McNeil at the same convention.
Who are you missing? Who do you have left on that picture?
Okay, you'll have to go to my Instagram and see what I'm missing.
Deal. Yes, we'll do that.
But I do have
that's some
cheers.
top-notch self-promotion right there.
Yeah, it's really good.
I got some cheers. I got all kinds of stuff. So it's more than just Star Trek. You got your Marvel. So you got Agent Carter.
Awesome. Well, don't show it all here. We'll all go to your Instagram. But how can we find you? What's your handle?
So it's STC Eagle on Instagram. And I think it's STC Christopher on Twitter.
Excellent. Everyone, please go follow Chris, super fan. Also, thank you, Chris sent me my autograph photo of LeVar Burton. So thank you so much. I appreciate that gift.
Gotta thank GalaxyCon for that.
Yeah, it's really,
GalaxyCon's the best for virtual conventions. You can actually watch a lot of their virtual conventions online on YouTube. So if you want to watch some of them, they're really funny questions. The guy that runs the panels, whose name is Patty, is a very big Star Trek fan, and he's done several stuff with William Shatner and different things. So,
Chris, put your handle in the chat, please. Ruben, what do you got to promote this week?
This week I posted 2 interviews. One with Micheline Pitt, a director, a fashion designer, and she does a bunch of stuff, puppeteer, animator. She made a short film called Grummy, which is about kind of a heavy topic, but it's old school animatronics. It's kind of like a personal story about abuse, so of her story. So I interviewed her, and then I also interviewed a kids entertainment troupe known as Kids Imagination. So it's kind of a very weird set of interviews to go on together in the same week. But Kids Imagination is great. So you could just follow me on at Twitter, rmartian, and you'll find everything else.
Excellent. Ian, what's going on? Anything new up on your feeds? You're getting ready for the cruise.
Obviously, I managed yesterday.
4.5 weeks.
I've pretty much got my mirror universe cosplay sorted, which I
I
posted
saw
on
that. It
Instagram
looked awesome.
yesterday. Got that one. I've now got five outfits of the 6 ready for the cruise. I had a good fit in yesterday for the last one. So, and I'm doing some work on that at the moment, just to get the new rank, because I've got epaulets and the new rank, which is 3D printed, which I did show, but it just shows the better quality of what we got there is
Yeah, very nice.
for the neck. So
Very
I'm
clean.
doing bits here and there, but I'm not doing anything on my YouTube. I'm having a sabbatical on the YouTube.
But you might be
Probably
back
coming back
after the
in
cruise.
March.
Yeah.
After the
Excellent.
cruise, which will be
Right
back
in time for
March.
Picard, March 3rd. Speaking of which, Fathery is going to promote a few things, and then I'm just going to say tomorrow tune into our Star Trek Picard discussion watch along / fan commentary, which happens at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central. And then Fathery, tell everyone what Text Trek is doing, and let's sign off after that.
Wait, I got one more thing too to promote. I forgot to mention is on my YouTube channel, I've got some interviews with Robin Curtis. So if you've
That's right.
ever seen Star Trek or Star Trek 3 through 4, she was Savick, and she also was the Romulan in the Gambit Part 1 and 2.
Mhm.
So
Excellent.
there's an interview, and she talks about Henry Winkler and her experience working on MacGyver, and how it was kind of a negative experience, but also our first experience on screen with doing our first on-screen kiss with Richard Dean Anderson on MacGyver.
Everyone go to YouTube and check that out. Fathery, take us out.
Sure. Well, you can catch Text Trek live every Friday night at 7 p.m., where we do a live podcast. Then you can listen to it later on early Monday morning, wherever you get your podcast. It'll be available. We cover each and every episode of new Star Trek the week it comes out. And we have a little treat today coming up in less than 21 minutes. If you go to the Text Trek YouTube channel, we are going to do an analysis of the Picard Season 2 trailer that dropped yesterday. Lots to unpack in that trailer, so that'll be a lot of fun. And that will be streaming live at 3:30 p.m. Central here in about 20 minutes.
Let's see everyone there.
Super excited about
you.
Guinan.
Yeah, me too. Audience, thanks so much for joining us. As always, we had a really nice crowd tonight. Lots of great today, and lots of great comments. Live long and prosper, and we will